Hello again, Mr. Adams here. We're going to be doing some more review with percent. It looks like the videos actually worked out well, the first two videos. So we're going to continue that as we work into the actual video lessons for continuing our math education for the rest of this quarter. But as we get started here with this third review, let's take a look at the rules that we've talked about so far. To change a percent to a decimal, move the decimal 2 places to the left and then get rid of the percent sign. If you're changing from a decimal to a percent, you move the decimal 2 places to the right. Remember, percent means hundreds, so we're talking 2 decimal places always. Always 2. Again, never 3, never 1, always 2. Now, let's apply that. Let's say we have 35%, and we want to change that to a decimal. The rule says you start here at the end of the whole number in the percent, and you move 2 decimal places to the left. So as a decimal, this would be 0.35. So if we're going to use this percent, we have to use it as a decimal, and we're going to use 0.35. Now, if I have 0.35 and I want to change that to a percent, I'm going to move the decimal place 2 places to the right and put a percent sign. So it becomes 35%. Back and forth. That's how it works. We also talked about some that were a little bit more complicated. Say you have, for instance, say you have 35.5% equals. Don't let that scare you. You still do the same thing. You follow the rule. 35.5%, 2 decimal places. There you go. It's 0.355. If I had the number 0.355 and I wanted to change that to a percent, I would move my decimal place 2 places to the right, 35.5%. Right? So, 1 is changing percent to a decimal, move it 2 places to the left. Changing from a decimal to a percent, we're going to do that by moving 2 decimal places to the right. We also talked a little bit about fractions, but we're going to cover that here in just a second. First, I want to talk to you. Well, yeah, we'll talk about the fractions right now. We'll go ahead and say 7/8 fraction. Remember, this is page 79 in your book. You have to memorize that. It's going to say, I've been telling you guys this for a couple of months now. You have to memorize that. It's going to save you so much time. But 7/8 is what? 0.875. So you can go from a fraction to a decimal to a percent. I'm going to move, I got a decimal, I'm going to move it 2 places to the right, 87.5%. That's how it works. 7/8, 0.875, 87.5%. All right. You can also say that could also be written as 87.5%. Say, well, how did you do that? Well, I have 87.5%. What is that? You take this number right here. You start here, you move 2 places, 0.87, and then that half is 0.5, and you just add the 5 on the end, 0.875. See, they're the same thing. All right? Now, here is something that's a little more tricky. Most of you are starting to get this down, but it's still a little tricky for some of you. There's a difference between 7/8 the fraction and 7/8%. Those are two different things. 7/8 is 87.5%. 7/8% means 7/8 of 1%. It's less than 1%. Let's look at it this way. Say I said 1 7/8%, and I wanted to change that to a decimal. I would move this 1 2 places. Remember, it always starts at the end of the whole number, not over here on the other side of the on the right side of the fraction. It starts here at the end of the whole number. So it's 0.01, and then you add the 7/8, 875, that decimal equivalent, without the decimal point. You only need one decimal, 0.01875. That is 1 7/8%. But if I have just 7/8%, that's a little bit trickier. I'm going to start, there is no whole number. There is no whole number. I'm going to start right here with my decimal. I'm going to go 1 2 places, 0 0. This is 0.00875. Any number that's less than 1% is going to have 2 zeros in front of the decimal, or to the right of the decimal, I should say. It's going to have 2 zeros here before your decimal equivalent. Always. Anything less than 1% is going to have that. Okay? If it's less than 10%, which this is, you're going to have 1 zero in front of it. Let's look at a couple others like that. Say we have 1/8%. That's a very small percentage. But when you start you start looking at loans and things like that, 1/8 of a percent, you're going to see those kind of things. All right? You're also going to see them in tests and quizzes and homework and so on. So you need to know it. So 1/8. Now you know from your page 179, or excuse me, page 79, that 1/8 is what? That is equal to 0.125. But this is 1/8 of a percent. All right? You're kind of saying 1/8% is 0.125%. You haven't changed it yet all the way over to a decimal. Now I have to go 1 2 places. All right? So that is equal to 0.00125. Or you can think of it as 1 2 places, 2 zeros, 0.00, and then 125. All right? Same things. All right. Now, finding the percent of a number. Let's review that quickly. Say I have 3 5/8%. We'll make it 3.5 to make it a little bit simpler. 3.5% of 20. It's going to be a small number, isn't it? It's going to be a small number. So 3.5%. First, in order to do this problem, I have to change this number to a decimal. The rule is, to find the percent of a number, you change the percent to a decimal and multiply. This of here means multiply. Right? So 3.5%. I'm going to change that first. I'm going to go 1 2. I'm going to say 0.03. What's the decimal equivalent of 1/2? 0.5. I'm going to add the 5 on the end. Times 20 equals. All right. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to multiply this out. I'm going to go 0.035. I'm going to multiply that times 20. I'm going to start by moving over a space. 10. 6 1 is 7. That's zeros. Now, So I'm done there multiplying. Now what do I have to do? I got to make sure I move 1, 2, there's 3 decimal places in this problem. None here, but there's 3 here. So I have to move 3 places. 1, 2, 3. 0.7, or if you want to keep the zeros in there, it's not wrong. All right? That is 3.5% of 20 is 0.7. It's not even 1 whole. All right? Change the percent to a decimal and multiply. That's why you have to know how to change a percent to a decimal, because in order to use it, you have to do that. You've got to change it to a decimal first. So, more review there. Hope that helps you a little bit. The next one we do, I believe we're going to do one on finding discounts. That'll be next.